Here's what we're going to be talking about today: driving economic growth with digital tools and website design strategy. So what does that mean? Essentially, using technology and using your online presence to drive engagement with your community, drive traffic, communicate information, those types of things. So we're just going to cover real high level some best practices and things that you can be doing to really help get the word out about your community. Quickly about myself, my name is Daniel Shaw. I'm a senior business solutions consultant with GHD Digital Products and Platforms. So what we do is we essentially build websites for our clients, right? So we've been very fortunate to work with hundreds of municipalities throughout Ontario and Canada and many, many economic development organizations implementing some of these strategies we're going to talk about this morning. We're part of a bigger group called GHD Digital, and this is a quote from our president, Kumar, and it really kind of drives home how we approach these types of projects and anything when it comes to technology and working in digital. And that is, digital government is not about technology, but rather the impact of technology on the citizens' lives it enhances and the new experiences it enables. That's a mouthful, but what does that mean? Essentially, the technology is important, right? It matters, but it's less about what's that impact that technology has. So when we just started this presentation, we were talking a little bit about AI. So that's the technology today. Had this conversation 2 years ago, it would be something else, and 2 years from now it'll be something else as well. So technology definitely matters, but what's the impact and how does it allow you to do your jobs easier, and how does it allow you to communicate information about your community and economic development out to the people you want to talk to? So how do we take advantage of that? And then these are just a couple things. This is, again, kind of our approach. Like, how do we want to use technology to our advantage to create efficiencies, improve experience, communicate information, those types of things. So I won't go over every point there for time. This slide here kind of really demonstrates a lot about what I'd like to talk about today, and that's communicate information about your community and when we talk about economic development, right? So there's obviously, every one of your communities has very unique attributes, the word you'd like to get out. And this is from 2022, so it's about a year and a bit old. So it's just about 2 grants that the province provided. Ontario Small Business Support Grant and Tourism Hospitality Small Business Support Grant. So what we can see here is that 40% of businesses took advantage of the small business grant, 8% on the tourism, yet 85% found that grant to be helpful when they did take advantage of it, and 75% on the tourism one. So obviously, it was very effective, and people, had great advantages with that, using that grant. But not a lot of people did take advantage of that, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. I mean, one could be is they applied and they just didn't qualify, or they started the application and they weren't able to complete it. But a big part of that is going to be just they didn't know about it, right? They didn't know it was happening. They didn't know it existed, and I'm sure the province did a great job of trying to get that information out. But each of your communities is able to do that as well, right? You don't want to just rely on one way to get that information out. So how can you use your online presence to get that information out? And that's what we're going to concentrate on today with a few techniques. So let's dive in. So here's the 3 things, and these are all pretty high level, on things that you're able to do to really, communicate information about your community, your advantages, your incentives, and things like that. So the 3 things are, we're going to talk about building a dedicated website for your audience only, right? So, and I bet you a lot of people in this room are already doing that. Some might not be, but that's definitely a big advantage. Using your navigation and design built for the economic development audience. One of the advantages that the people in this room have here is that you know who your audience is, right? So you know who you're talking to, and you can use that to your advantage. And then engaging in visually appealing content and making sure that it's really showcasing what you want to showcase. So I don't think that we're breaking any new ground here, but I think it's important to point out that 90% of site selectors are using economic development websites to scout new locations, right? So that's where a site selector is going to start their journey. They're going to start it out online, whether that be just like a simple Google search, or maybe it's through connection through some of the people in this room, whatever it might be. That's going to be at least their starting point. Obviously, that's not going to make their decision. They're going to reach out to yourselves and get more information, but this is where they're going to start. So we want to use these techniques to really make sure we're putting our best foot forward. The first one, a dedicated URL. So essentially building a dedicated website for your economic development initiatives, right? So again, I mentioned there's probably a lot of people in this room are already doing that. Some people are probably just have their economic development information in that municipal, kind of in the main municipal website. We still see that all the time. I think you're really not kind of doing that content justice if that's the way you're doing it. Build a website dedicated to your economic development initiative. So what are the advantages? Number one, I think this is the most important, is it removes the clutter, right? So If it doesn't have its own website, so investincity.ca or whatever URL is going to be, you're competing with when's my garbage day, how do I register my kids for soccer programs, when are my taxes due, where can I download the agenda. You're kind of mixed in with all that other information. If you build a dedicated website, you can bubble all that up to the top, and really it's going to be dedicated to just that. You can target your initiatives, your advantage, and your attributes, right? So having a dedicated website really allows you to push that information you want to communicate, right? You know what your advantages are, whether it be incentives for small businesses, whether it be location, logistics, transportation, workforce, those types of things. You can really kind of push those things with your own website on the homepage or throughout the entire website, as opposed to, again, it kind of getting lost in that main municipal one. And you know who your audience and you know what they need, right? So you know who's coming into that site. You have a pretty good grasp on who that's going to be. So let's take advantage of that, and let's build a website and online presence. And social media kind of falls into this as well. That's really pushing that information to them. So if I am a site selector or I'm a local business looking to move, I don't need to go to the main municipal website, try to find the information I'm looking for. Maybe it's just 1 page of content, 2 pages of content. Really showcase the information in your community, because we've all got kind of those unique attributes we want to push. So I think this is kind of one of the most important ones, and we've had a lot of success working with our clients on that. So it just really quickly on this one, you've got 2.6 seconds, so this kind of ties into what I just mentioned. You've got 2.6 seconds to kind of get their attention. You know, the reality is that sometimes you are competing with your neighboring municipalities, right? That's how this works sometimes. So if you're not able to engage these users right away, they are going to go look somewhere else, unfortunately. Hopefully they still contact you, but maybe they find what they need somewhere else. So we want to make sure we're quick with that. And then this is a project we worked on with Windsor Essex a couple years ago, and it just kind of highlights what I just talked about. So they had all their ECDev information on their main municipal website, and then what they decided, it just wasn't getting the engagement they wanted. People weren't finding it, people weren't contacting them. So we built out a dedicated website, Invest Windsor Essex, and these are just a couple of the stats. We basically took the pages they had before on their main one and then compared it to the pages on the dedicated one. We saw 102% increase in page views. That's probably for a couple reasons. One is just more people came to the site, more people could find it, and also there was just more content for people to engage in, right? So not just like 1 or 2 pages on the municipal website, giving people all that information, really taking it, just to be honest, taking it really seriously. And then we saw an increase in 73% increase in users, right? So that could be a lot of reasons. One could be they can promote that site, right? They're proud of it. Like, let's get that word out. Like, we really want people to go visit this. And also through search engines and things like that. Next up is talking about navigation and design. So with this one, I really like the idea of having a dedicated website. But this one here would certainly apply to that. But it could also apply if you are looking to kind of just keep this in the main municipal site. Make sure it's easy for people to find, right? So I would always recommend, and we do this with any one of our clients, we're very fortunate to have navigation usability experts on staff. We always work with our clients to make sure that the information is easy to find. We do that through a deep dive in Google Analytics, which is something that you're able to do. We do that with using our own best practices and expertise. We do that with working with our clients because they know their community. So let's make sure the information is easy to find and people can get to it really, really quickly and easily. Use storytelling to communicate that information. So when we talk about navigation, I typically think about that menu up at the top, right? That menu with the drop downs and all those things. You want to make sure that that's very clear and intuitive, but you also want to use storytelling. Use whether it be a success story, a case study, those types of things, and that's kind of another form of navigation. And then just these last couple here. So using the layout and design to showcase what makes your community special. So when we think navigation and sitemap, we typically think of, again, that main menu up at the top, but that's not the only way people are going to find information, and unfortunately that's what a lot of people are using. They're relying on that main menu to get people to the information. But you can use the layout and design to showcase what makes your community special, right? So if it is workforce, then have big visuals on the homepage, right, that are going to push people out to that workforce. It's like, this is what we want them to see, so let's make sure we push it out. and use visuals and design to get them that information, but then also a nice, easy to use menu so that, if I'm a site selector, that's great, but I also know what I want to find, right? Like I know what I'm interested in. So let's make sure that it's really easy to do that. So again, always, if you're not able to take advantage of somebody like we have on staff, like Sean Wise, that's the person that is at GHD Digital, at least put some time into this and kind of, again, look at your Google Analytics, think what people are looking for, and make sure that navigation is really clear. And then just finally use language that will speak to your audience, right? So the advantage here is in economic development, when you have that dedicated website, you know who your audience is. So talk the talk, right? Speak their language. On a municipal website, you don't know who's coming in, right? Could be, somebody that's comfortable with technology, not, they know the terminology, they don't, right? So you got to use a little bit more plain language. When you're talking with a dedicated economic development website, you know who you're talking to, right? Like they understand what demographics are, they understand what workforce development is, they understand what grants and incentives are going to be. So have some balance there. Just going to do a quick time check here. I think we've got about 5 more minutes, so keep going. And then just the last one here I want to mention was captivating content, right? So I made a couple comments to start about, have a dedicated URL, have really nice imagery, designed, graphics, icons, things like that. But it doesn't just end on that home page. Eventually, people are going to be, getting down to the actual content and want to have that information pushed out to them or to find out about that information, the words on the page. So make sure that it's not just about that home page and making sure it looks fantastic. When they get into that page about demographics or about workforce or higher education, things like that, logistics, use those exact same graphics and visual elements to get people to that information that you want to push. Because that's what a lot of this is about, is that every community has their unique attributes, things they want to communicate. Use the visual elements, use the words on the page to push that information. So it's really, really important to make sure that you don't just stop with the homepage. Make the entire site, make sure the entire site is going to be visually appealing. We at GHD, there's lots of different content management systems out there, so I would recommend you kind of look at something that allows you to do that. We've got a product called GovStack, do a quick plug here that allows our clients to do just that. With GovStack, you have full control. You can do all these different things, and we're going to look at an example here in a second. And then just last couple things, incorporate video where you can, right? So video is very, very engaging. Like, I don't know what it's like in your households or wherever you are, is that YouTube just gets so much usage, things like that. Video can really help tell your story, and I don't want to pretend like that's easy to do. I'm sure people in this room have tried to create a video, and it takes a lot of time and effort, and there's some investment involved, so definitely understanding that that's not easy, but if you're able to use video, even it's just like, you see those economic development, like kind of looping style videos that are that could be on a homepage. Windsor Essex actually has that. It looks fantastic. Or more of a storytelling type video about the community. It goes a long way, and again, people engage with that type of thing. Maybe they don't want to read all the information, they just want to watch that video, so definitely take advantage of that. And then just lastly, create content that will help you get found and keep them coming back. So always be updating the site. Search engines love that, right? So SEO is very tricky. There's a lot that goes behind that, but at its most basic, always be creating great content, always be updating it. So don't just kind of set it and forget it type of thing. Make sure that you're always keeping that content fresh. This is an example that, I'm not going to call it up today just for time's sake, but we recently worked with the City of North Bay, or North Bay Economic Development, to create the Invest North Bay website, and everything we just talked about, that I just talked about, we would have covered with them, right? So we would have gone through this whole process when we built their site using our GovStack tool to make sure we worked with them to create the navigation to make sure it was easy to use and what they wanted to accomplish, right? So site selection, community, industry, data, and about, right? So things that are important. And then we used visual, nice big photo right on the home page there, with very engaging photo, which they can update if they want to change it. Looks like a winter photo. Maybe in the summer they put something else. We've got things that were important to them. Again, visual cues, right? So start a business, grow a business, relocate, find a property, shoot a production. So we went through this whole process with them to get the sitemap set up, get the design done, use engaging content. So if you get a chance, it looks great on your phone. If you look on your laptop, it'll look great there. So you can go have a look and check that out. But something that, it was a great project to work with. It just launched about a month ago, so it was fantastic. And then I think the final slide here before we wrap it up, I think I probably got about a minute left, is fostering and growing innovation in digital ecosystems. So this is one of the top five priorities of the Ontario Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. That's a mouthful. And they've proposed that in their 2023-2024 plan. So, I don't think we're breaking any news here that innovation and technology is important, but I think it is important just to kind of make sure we point that out that, it was important in 2022, 2023. It's important in 2023, 2024, right? So just always be looking to technology and how you can leverage it to take advantage of showcasing information on your community. So whether it be your website, which is where we spent most of our time today, whether it be social media, right, and doing those types of things, whether it be, I think there was just a presentation on AI and data and things like that. So using that to your advantage to showcase what your community can do, using third-party tools. I know Local Intel is here, and there's a few other vendors if you want to use third-party tools to pull that information in. So just always kind of be thinking of how can we use technology to do things better.